Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Hey, it's your boy Smitty. If you've made it this far, then we are at the finale of L2theW 700R4 right here underneath the plastic. It's been ready for a while, but we've been doing valve body work, and I showed you separator plates in the last video. So now here comes the part where we put all of the rest of it back together. We still got to do the shift linkage and part pawl assembly. Got to put all that back in. Got to put a new wiring harness in, valve body on, obviously, filter, and of course the pan. And that's about it. I mean, yeah, we're at that stage. So this is the last one. I can't thank you all enough for sticking around and watching this series. I hope you all have found it useful. I hope you've learned something from it. Make sure if you have, smash that like button down there in the corner. It's the one with the thumbs up. And then there's a subscribe button down there too. It's a red button. Hit that and subscribe, and then turn your little bell notification to all notifications. That way you get notified when I upload a new video. So, with that being said, I'm going to get you set up on the tripod here, and we're going to start putting the rest of this together. I take that back. We're not going to do the tripod yet. I got to show you a few things, and then I'll put you on the tripod. But you get the idea. Anyway, all right, guys, let's get going. All right, so I got you flipped up on the edge here, and this valve that I showed you the other day that we enlarged the hole in, where this dude goes is right down in this hole right here, and it should fit tight. If it doesn't fit real tight, you got to put the O-ring on the bottom of it, and we're going to be pretty snug in there. So I'm going to make sure this hole right here is going to go into this passage. Not that it really matters, because there's one on either side. Alright, and that's going to take a little persuasion, so we're going to get a something to drive that in there with, and because it has to be obviously below this line here a little bit. It's got to be either flush or below it. So here's where I set you up on the tripod. Okay, that was a strange noise. Alright, so what we're going to use is this little bushing driver. I got one about the same size, and we're just going to give it some nice taps here. A little bit further. There we go. Just as simple as that. Okay, if you see, it's actually below the surface, which is what you want. And if you look at it from the side here, you can see that it's below the surface. So that part's good. Okay, something minor that you want to make sure to do is there's these two screens here. There's two of these. I don't know what. There it goes. They're just a filter, and there's two of them that go in location. One of them is down here, in that hole right there. That's for the governor. Okay. 4L60E won't have that. And they also won't have this one up here, which this one here is for your TCC filter. So just it just goes down in there and just press it down in. Use a screwdriver or something to just make sure it's pressed in there. Okay. So that's that. And then you've got, we'll knock this tape out of this hole here, which is the, that's the TV cable hole there. Probably easier if I flip it over. I forgot to tape that up that good. Hard to get my fingers down in there. Alright, so we got that hole opened up. Don't forget your I call these top hat seals. One's a dipstick and one's for your TV cable. That one doesn't want to go in, but we'll put the dipstick one in there. There's that one. There it goes. Okay, so there's those two seals. We'll flip her back over. Alright, so I got about everything laid out here. These are your valve body bolts. This your park linkage. This spring was in the Ford. It's a secondary spring in the accumulator. We're not going to use it. This was in the 3/4 accumulator, and as you can see, it broke. And this spring broken's what tore up this bore. And that's why we had to get the repair kit to repair that bore. So we've got a Sonnax piston to stick in there. And I have a replacement yellow spring. So this is getting left out. So this is a piece that goes with your shift linkage. And so is this nut. You can see it's got the cuts on the top of it. That goes with it. This is your TV cable links. The one on the left is the factory one. The one on the right is the Sonnax one. It's just a wee bit shorter. This is your linkage rod that goes in between your shift linkage and the valve body. These do not interchange with a 700R4 or excuse me, a 4L60E. The 4L60E is longer. This is your pass-through connector. I just got to put an O-ring on it. It's fine otherwise. And I like to set the bolts out in kind of stages. That way you know where they go. You can see all our check balls, and you see that got that gold one right there. I'll show you where that gold one goes here before too long. There's your detent spring, your Ford accumulator, or they call that the auxiliary valve body. Your park pawl bracket. Here is your throttle valve linkage. And of course your pan bolts. And we've got the old governor. And in here, that is a brand new governor. Woohoo! And I've got a brand new wiring harness with the TCC solenoid in it. So that's his original speedometer gear. Need to put a new seal on that so it doesn't leak. But yeah, anyway, that's what we're gonna do, and so here we go. Now I've already pressed the seal in here for your shift linkage. So the first thing is obviously you want to look at this shaft real good. Make sure it doesn't have any grooves in it or anything like that. And this one's in really good shape, so we're not going to worry about it too much. Slide that dude in there. Before you get too far, well, let's get it in there a little bit. All right. You're going to slide your they call this a rooster comb, but slide that in there and just kind of lay that down in there. And then your nut is going to go with the teeth out, with these castles out. Go ahead and slide that in there. Slide your nut on there. Snug up your nut. And then you've got this U-shaped clip. And that U-shaped clip goes right here. Push it till it snaps on there. Then all you need to do is grab yourself a wrench and tighten that nut up. It just needs to be snug, but that's all there is to that. Pretty simple. Alright, next, before we get too far into it, we're going to slide our connector pass through. So let's get an O-ring for that. Alright, that's just a regular old black O-ring that goes on there. Put a little trans gel on that dude. And L2theW was giving me a hard time because I do say dude. I say dude a lot, and I say stuff like that. And I'm sorry, it's just, I'm just bad about that. And that's got to come in from the back side, and it looks like the tab is going to go out. Yep, just like that. All right, now find you a couple bolts to tie down your bracket, and that should be these here. Yep. And then put your linkage through the hole there. You got to slide this pawl here forward enough that you can get your retainer all the way down. Okay, now since it slid, just take you a screwdriver. Well, it's not letting me do it. There we go. Get behind that dude like that. Since I don't have a ugga-dugga ready to go, we'll just run these bolts down by hand. Or this one anyway. There we go. I so bad want to sing while I'm doing this work, but I can't because it'd get copyrighted. That impact gun's kind of weak, so we'll grab our Emmanuel labor wrench, give it a good snug up. and this should work just beautiful. Locks in gear. So the rooster comb is installed. So now we're going to go over to this servo here. All right, as we did earlier, where'd my finger cutter go? There it is. We put this aside last time, which is the rest of the piston kit for that accumulator. So now we're ready for it. So we're going to go ahead and lube this dude up with some trans gel. And slide that thing on there. Like that. Take and paint you the inside of the bore there with some trans gel, and don't forget your pen. There we go. Down it goes. And put our spring in there. Whoo, that spring's a tight fit in that bore. All right, so now we're ready for some check balls. Okay, we got two different sizes. So the big one, this one here, is going to go right here in that tub. And anywhere else that there's a tub, you want to put a check ball, except if it tells you otherwise. So one there, should be one down here in that hole. And this one's a questionable. We'll put one there for now, but I'll probably end up pulling it out. Okay, now what it says if to lay the plate over your case here, and if it has the two holes there, then I want you to install the hole. But remember, that's the one we blocked off, or we plugged. So we need to pull that ball back out. I'm going to tell you right here in front of you guys, I mean, if this was a stock rebuild, all this doesn't matter, because I mean, you'll do it just like factory. But since we're modifying so much stuff, things are going to be different. So we've got all the check balls in the right spot. So like I said, you got one here, which is the big one. That's underneath your TV boost. You got one in that bathtub there. You got one there, and you got one there, and then you got one here on this check ball, on this accumulator. So that's it for that. So then we are ready for some gaskets. And remember what I said about the markings on it. The C stands for case. So this one will go here first. just like that. All right, then time to throw your spacer plate on. And what you can do on this also to help get everything lined up, there's a couple different ways. You can actually smear some trans gel on the plates to line everything up, or use a bolt. Use a bolt and get it kind of centered where you want to go. Then you can start putting everything else in. This is just for, I still got to put the gasket on it just so you can see what I'm talking about. All right. So now that we got that part lined up, let's put your top gasket on, which will be your valve body side. It'll look something like that. Okay, then you've got your 1-2 accumulator, which it's got the pinless servo in it, or pinless accumulator piston, and the purple spring that they supply. We're just going to install that loosely. So then we're going to put our forward accumulator in. Okay, this forward accumulator gets a check ball, and it goes right here in that orifice right there. So to help hold it in place, we'll just put a little trans gel down in there. Install one of the plastic check balls, kind of like that, and it's ready to go. It sits on there just about like that. A little bit short one goes right down in that hole right there. All right. The reason why I left this loose, obviously, is to make sure that we can get all of our other pieces on there. Okay, on the valve body, depending on the model year, is if you use all the check balls or not. This is a 91, so you get spot here for a check ball, spot there for a check ball, a big bathtub for this one here, and well, that's the only ones in the valve body. That one probably accepted one once before, but these are 2 tubs. Basically, this one here we're going to leave empty because of the model year. The number 4 check ball is actually in there, so we just need a check ball there and there. So again, put your little trans gel in there in both those holes. It's very important that once you get this thing in and running, that you need to get the fluid warm enough to melt the trans gel. I use a low melting point trans gel for that reason. So all right, let's put your manual link in. There we go. And time to put the valve body on. Don't forget to hook up your manual rod. The trick to this manual rod is doing it before you set the valve body down in there. Make sure I didn't rip that gasket. Nope. This valve body is cast iron, so it's kind of heavy. Alright, and seeing as how it's been a while since I've had this thing apart, I'm going to have to probably move some bolts around till I remember how everything goes in here. So we can at least put these center ones in. Or start them anyway. So we do have a tube that we have to put in. And that is this tube here, and this is for your oil flow for your forward accumulator. That should be the correct way. So it's going to go there, and then you've got a couple retainers. This is going to be one of them that goes here, and then the other one looks like it'll probably go here. Yep. All right. So you can put your pair of pliers around that dude. And just give it a couple love taps there, and it'll go down in there. Beautiful. Just like that. Alright, so got that on. Your TV link. This thing goes in there kind of like that. If you see that there, that's the shorter one. Then that's going to go down in that position right there. A couple bolts down in there. Alright. One of the last things we got to do, and we'll tighten all these up all at one time, is we need to put our TCC solenoid in. So give the O-ring a little love. It goes down in there. We'll route this underneath that wiring there. Make sure to route your connector over to your switch here. And then this will go down in this connector down here. figure out which way it's got to go in. Should go in just like that. Okay. All right. Bolt goes there. If I do remember right, this goes right here. So I couldn't exactly, I'll be honest, I couldn't exactly remember how this went. And you know, that's what's cool about keeping the old videos, is because then you can go back and look to see how the thing came apart. And something I also noticed is there's a bracket that goes right here on this bolt. And it was still on the old piece. So thankfully, we can just slide that dude out of there and we've got our bracket back. But it goes right here in this, on this bolt right here. And then the harness will sit down in there. Just like that. Slide that dude through there a little bit. There we go. And then this flops over here like that. And then this bolt goes here. And that's what holds that harness in. So everything else is there. We just need to tap our forward in a little bit there. Oop, knocked the plug off. So now it's time to tighten everything up. And start with this one little bitty one, 8mm right there. The rest of them are 10s. We're going to start in the center and work our way around. The trigger on this gun is not the greatest. It's kind of why I quit using it, is because it's super touchy. All right, I brought my good wrench home with me. No, not GM good wrench, but my Matco torque wrench. I had a snap-on one before it, and it kept screwing up on me, and I was like, you know, it's time to replace it. So I bought a new one. And I absolutely love this one. So 8 foot-pounds is what it calls for a spec. Now, if I'm not mistaken, 8M 6s or 8M 12 is what, 96? Yeah, I think it is. Which to me seems a little light, but that's what we'll go with. The memory function on this is the coolest thing ever, because it holds like 99 or 9 different torque specs, ones that you use on a regular basis. It works pretty cool because you don't have to go through and set it every time. But then the lights are really cool. When you get to three LEDs, you've reached your torque spec. Pretty neat. Something else to note on the 700 R4s, the valve body bolts are all the same length, kind of like a 4L80. However, on a 4L60E, a 4L65, and a 4L70E, they are not. You cannot put them in the wrong place. If you put them in the wrong place, it contacts the drum on the inside, and it can cause you all sorts of problems. Forgot to run them down. Alright, there it is. So we need to put a rooster comb or detent spring on. Okay, y'all. You know, I'm not perfect, and I'm trying to teach you, but here's a good lesson for you. Remember what I told you about the link between a 700 R4 and a 4L60E, that you can't switch them around? Well, guess what old Smitty did? I switched it around. I can't put it in park because you can see the rod hits the case, which means the link is too short. It'll go all the way that direction, no problem. But since the link's too short, not only will it cause a drivability problem big time, it will obviously not ever go in park. And that's the link that goes in it. Is that little bit of length will allow this thing to go in park. So I've got to switch these links out. And I'm not going to film that, but I'm going to switch these links out. So I'll be right back. Alright, well, old Smitty forgot to turn the mic on again, so I'm going to do this way. Okay, now that you see that I got that link replaced, I've got full movement of the rooster comb, which is what it's supposed to be like. This thing would have never gone into drive or reverse or anything with that short link in there. So we're good to go now. That was a kind of one of the rookie mistakes. I mean, it happens. Got the bolts here for the TCC solenoid. You need to make sure to tighten them down. They're the same spec as the valve body. And those are too long because they bottom out. So got to get the right bolts. And these are a little bit shorter. So we'll put those back in here. Doing this one-handed is kind of a challenge, holding the camera and then operating a torque wrench. So there's a real good view of what this wrench does. It's pretty cool how it counts up until you get to your torque spec. And as soon as it starts getting some pressure, it reads it again and takes off. And that's that. All right. I'll need to put our rooster comb back on after switching it around, since I so brilliantly swapped the links. I think what the deal was is I had Scarlett's 4L60E and the 700 stuff right close to it, and I just ended up grabbing the wrong link. It happens. But it's better off to catch that stuff before it goes in the car, obviously. It would have been doing some funny stuff if wouldn't have caught it. Just going to check it for good measure. Make sure it goes in park and the park lock works. And it works like a charm, so we got it right. So we're at that stage where we need the filter. And that thing will be tight, so we're going to take it off and put a little trans gel on it before it goes back in there. It'll make it slide into the hole a little easier. There we go. And we're about ready for the pan. These are those gaskets I was telling you about, the pan gaskets. These things are cool as cool can be, at least for this model series transmission. They're called Duraprene. They're kind of like a paper gasket, but they seal better than anything else I've seen. Well, except for the factory pan gasket. I mean, they seal really good too. But yeah, they work very well. I really like them. So, I keep a couple of them here at my little shop. It's just my house. But
And we're ready for the pan. And obviously it only goes one direction, and that one wasn't the direction it went. You don't want to over torque these pan bolts. That's the key. If you do, what it does, it mushrooms the hole, and then it causes the pan to leak. So as much as you think it's a pan that can, make sure to torque the pan bolts too. You'll save yourself a leak in the long run. I'm putting a bolt where I'm at there, but that's actually where your shift cable bracket will go. So I'll move them here in just a second.
Alright, well, we got all our pan bolts in, but we're going to leave these two out because these two belong to the shift cable bracket. So on the old 700s, the cable bracket actually bolts here. The 4L60s, they actually bolt on the top here, where this one doesn't even have provisions to do that. So that's how that works. Oh. So we'll run all these down. Like I said, these pan bolts don't have to be extremely tight. I'm going to do them the same, 8 foot-pounds. Because it's easy to over-tighten these. And then you just mushroom your pan. All right. So now we've got the governor. The governor, we're just going to dip in a little fluid, and it goes right in this slot right here. Like that. Then you've got your governor cover. Sometimes they have a seal for them, sometimes they don't. And this one does. One thing I am not seeing. Wait a minute. Nope, that's the... There is no... That's interesting. Oh, there it is. Okay, there is an O-ring for this, and it's just a square cut O-ring. Looks like that. Just slide it on the outside there. It's just basically just to kind of seal it in there, and this just basically presses in there. Give a little persuasion. And there's that. Now in some of these kits, when you do the rear tail housing, this one's actually painted orange, and this is another square cut O-ring. And it goes on this extension housing right here. Right here. Just like that. And slide your extension housing on. Like so. And gets these 4 bolt heads. And on these, I am going to torque it, just because it's an aluminum extension housing. And it's going to get 18 foot-pounds. Seems kind of light. Make sure it's not supposed to be like 26. Nope, 18 foot-pounds. Okay, then you have your transmission mount. Goes right there. Let's get these bolts here. You know, metal splinters are the worst, y'all. Man, they hurt. And we're going to torque those also to the same amount. All right, last but not least is your speedometer. Now this O-ring on this one is actually color coded. And that dude's been in there a while. And this is how you change you can get different gears for these, depending on your speedometer or what gear ratio you got in the butt. Oh, for crying out loud. There we go. And this O-ring for this one's actually dark blue. Just slide it on there. Give it just a little bit of trans gel. In it goes. We'll just give it a little bit of a cinch up with the ratchet. It'll need to be torqued. Just like that. All right. Couple little things yet. We need our O-ring for your input shaft here. It's just a regular O-ring. Now if this was a GM kit, this O-ring would be orange. There you go, there's your O-ring for that. Alright, so I want to show you how to do this TV cable, and this is kind of an awkward view, but this TV cable goes right here in this hole. And what you need to do is you need to pick up, grab your pair of needle nose, and grab a hold of that link that's in there and pull it up. And grab it with your other hand. And slide your eyelet through it. Kind of like that. You see it? And that's all you got to do. And then what I like to do is grab the other end of the cable and hang on to it. Pull that down until you can get that cable seated down in that grommet. Just like that. And it'll take a little bit of time. Okay, your TV cable is on there. Pull your other side and you should hear that thing ratchet. One more thing we got to do to this TV cable. I've never seen a cable like this. I don't think the one I have is that way. Yeah, I'm going to say that this cable is probably aftermarket, because the one I've got is a little bit longer and the end of the cable is different, if you notice here. This is a factory one, this is an aftermarket one. Can't even see it, I'm sure. That's your aftermarket, that's a factory cable. If you look at the ends, somebody modified this one, they put a zip tie on the end of it. This one's got a, I mean the cable's quite a bit thicker on this one. Either way it'd work, I mean, no doubt. Alright, so the last thing we got to do involves this little spring set up here. And the way it goes, I'm going to have to take this off. So we get that off. I got to put this spring on there. Then that piece goes in there, kind of like that. And put that back on. Put a little protector back on the sleeve like that. Tighten this back up. Oop, I just pulled that back off. There we go. Had to be patient with it. It went back on there. So basically that just acts as a spring. So never used that before, but we'll find out. All right, y'all. So here it is. Here's L2theW's completely overhauled and extremely modified transmission. Hope to give him many years of no hassle. I have agreed to help him put it in. And besides that, I would like to know, I want to run, there is a pressure tap right here that you can hook a gauge up to, and you can watch your line pressure. I want to make sure the line pressure is doing what it's supposed to. And then, you know, the early ones, they used to have taps over here too 350 turbos and that kind of stuff, they used to have pressure taps over there to help you diagnose it. Now they just give you line pressure taps. But anyway, so I hope you all liked the series of the 700R4 for L2theW. I'm anxious to get the thing in, and I know he's anxious to get his car back on the road. This transmission's been extensively modified, so lots of things changes. The only thing I'm worried about is I'm hope that he's tickled with the way its shift feels. Some saving grace, because I set it up the way it is, and he has a stall converter, which I think is about a 26 or 2800 stall converter in this thing. The shifts, even though they'll be quick, you won't notice them as much because of the stall in the converter. And, you know, I don't know if his lockup ever worked. He couldn't tell me, but it should. If not, we'll talk to the programmer to make sure that that's turned on. But it's been interesting for sure. I've enjoyed this one. Been a long time since I've done a 700R4, I can tell you that. And actually modified them and stuff like that. I did one for a buddy of mine, my childhood best friend growing up. He was also one of the guys I used to run around with. I built one for him, but man, that was, oh goodness, it was years ago. I can't remember how long it was. And he put it in his Trans Am. He's got an 86 IROC. He put it in there, and he said the first time it hit second gear, it broke the transmission mount. So it shifted pretty hard, but he had a stock converter in it. So at any rate, I don't know if he ever did anything with it or not. I think his 86 was also red. It seems to be a popular color on these IROCs, but I've got two of them, as a matter of fact. I actually got three of them. Well, the donor wasn't originally red. It was white, and they painted it red. But it's more rust and everything else now. But anyway, enough of that jabbering. Anyway, man, if y'all enjoyed the content on this, please give me a thumbs up, a like button down there at the bottom. Make sure to check out the other videos. I'll put a link up there in the corner for you to check out the rest of the videos on this series. And hit that subscribe button down there at the bottom, and then turn all your notification bell, turn that to all alerts on. And I greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much for sticking with me. Thanks for being a subscriber. I can't tell you how much it means to me. I really can't. It's awesome. And I hope to see you later in the video. So, in later videos. So with that being said, y'all take care of yourself. Take care of each other. God bless you. God bless America. And this is the finale for the 700R4 build. Good night.